Hello fellow warriors, this is Landro off of LandroeGaming on his character Shifster. This is my druid that I recently obtained and got to level 90 and started PvPing on. Those of you who have watched my channel from the start will know that I'm a priest by trade and I really enjoy playing priest. However, just lately I've decided in PvP in particular to start playing my druid. They're not as powerful as disc priests, I'll be entirely honest, but they are very, very good fun to play. Lots more utility. I like the combination that you can get a little bit of damage out, you can sort of stay in stealth if you want, you can stay alive, you've got good healing utility, and you've got that CC potential with Cyclone, Hibernate, Entangle the Roots, and things of that ilk. Now, I've done a PvP video on my priest, which got quite a good reception. Now, I'm going to do one on my druid. I'd like to put it out there at the start that I'm not one of these elite players. I'm not 2.2k plus mega rating arena player. What I do is I'm like 99% of the warriors in this game. I enjoy the game, I enjoy PvPing, I enjoy BGs and arenas, and I'm of a certain skill level. I'm 1700, maybe 200, 2000 rate and that kind of thing. Now, what I like about druids are their utility, as I said. So, just put it into perspective. This video is from my perspective, my playstyle. Most of the talents are kind of obligatory. Some have a little bit of scope, some of the talent trees. So we'll get on to talking about the talents to start with in this video. Now, the thing with the talents of the Druid class are that there's a bit of a mixture between various different types of playstyle. Now, the first tier, the first level, the level 15 talents, the Feline Swiftness. Now, basically, you can't go there. It's not really much about that. It's between the other two. It's between Displacer Beast and Wild Charge. Displacer Beast is the ability of choice by most druids. It's a fantastic ability. It basically gives you a blink 20 yards away. It's on a very short cooldown, a 30-second cooldown. It gives you a burst of movement speed, 15% increase for 4 seconds, so you can get away from those melees. You can get a little bit of breathing space. I use it quite regularly to effectively blink and then get line of sight. So you can blink towards a pillar and then get line of sight and heal yourself up, free in the knowledge that you aren't going to be interrupted. Wild Charge is the other one. A lot more skill involved to use Wild Charge to influence his ability. It gives you a different ability depending on what form you're in. So there is a potential there. If you're in travel form, you get the same kind of thing as Displacer Beast. You can leap 20 yards forward. It's effectively a blink. It's not quite as good. You don't get the movement speed. You have to do 2 kind of global cooldowns because you have to switch into travel form to then use the ability, whereas Displacer Beast does it all in one ability. So that's what I think why Displacer Beast is used most there. Now, the second talent tree, the level 30 talents, now this is obligatory. You've got to take Nature's Swiftness. It's such a powerful spell. Not only in those oh my god moments, it can make your certain healing spells instacast and increases their power by 50%. So it keeps people alive, but it's also got that ability to give you extra duration on your CC. A Nature's Swiftness into a Cyclone. Your Cyclone is a 6-second duration. With the Nature's Swiftness, it becomes 9 seconds. If you can catch somebody without a trinket in a 9-second Cyclone, quite often it puts so much pressure on the team, or it means you score a kill. So that's why Nature's Swiftness is so important. The other 2 abilities aren't really up to much in that talent tree whatsoever, certainly not from a PvE perspective. The level 45 talents, there's a little bit more variety here. Typhoon is probably the one you'll go with. It's that knockback that blows people off of Lumber Mill, that blows them off bridges, that kind of thing. Blows them down to another level, blows them off of bridges in arena, off of if they've got on the top towers, that kind of thing. That's why Typhoon's so good. The other benefit, which isn't always remembered, it gives a daze for 6 seconds. Now, that's really big. That means that you can use it on a couple of melees that chain. You can turn, you can jump, turn, Typhoon, keep running away, and it gives them a daze, so you can get that little bit of breathing space. That's where it's very good. Now, it's worth mentioning Mass Entanglement is very, very useful against hunters, particularly Beast Mastery hunters, and particularly Beast Mastery hunters that have popped Stampede. Now, all those pets start coming at you, and they start doing crazy damage, and they're setting up their kill with that. You can pop Mass Entanglement, and all those stampeding wild beasts are suddenly rooted in place. Now, that's where Mass Entanglement is very good. If you're queuing in arena and you realise you're up against a Beast Mastery hunter, it's probably worthwhile switching to Mass Entanglement. And now, the level 60 tier tree is actually 3 really good abilities. The Soul of the Forest, particularly in PvE, after you use a Swift Men, you get 75% haste. Now, combining that with Tranquility is just hilarious. You get Tranquilities that are like 4-second duration. Now, that's brilliant. And they're very, very powerful. Force of Nature is really cool. It's a good looking spell. A lot of use in PvE, but realistically, in PvP, you've got no choice but to go with Incarnation, and that's because out of 3 very, very good talents, it's just head and shoulders above the rest. Now, everybody knows Tree of Life is synonymous with Druids. It's the thing that makes them what they are. They're niche. It's that niche that they fill. you're basically invincible when you're in Tree of Life form. Unless you're getting shamed by like 7 different people, you don't die if you're in Tree of Life, and people around you don't die. You're going to become a CC target if you pop Tree of Life, because people will be like, you can't really kill anything with a Druid in Tree of Life form, so, you know, get them out of the equation. But what it does, it means your regrowth becomes an insta-cast. Now that's huge. Now on top of that, it increases your healing by 50%, 15% I should say. It increases your armor by 120%, so you basically become twice as strong. You know, you're much better at staying alive. And as I said, it gives you regrowth an instant cast. Now regrowth is an instant cast. I'll go through the glyphs and as to why it's so important in a little while, but it's a fantastic spell. It also means you can blanket people with life blooms. Your life bloom isn't limited to one target. And again, when I go through the glyphs, you'll understand why life bloom is so important in PvP, even more so than it is in PvP, and that's because of the glyph of life bloom, or the glyph of blooming, I should say. So we'll go on about that a little bit later. But basically, you've got no choice here. Incarnation is the thing to go with. It's fantastic. The level 75 talents, again, there's a little bit of flexibility here. Personally, I go with Mighty Bash. I do a lot of 2v2 arenas with my friend, and I do a lot of random BGs. Now, I like Mighty Bash because you can set up a kill with it, you can target healers. I've got a little trick where I'll displace a beast towards a healer and Mighty Bash them out of the blue like that, and hopefully give them away said trinkets so that I can get them in a cyclone. So it's a good pressure builder. It's a good way of getting away from somebody who is training you, particularly melees. You can get a Mighty Bash off. Bear in mind, it is susceptible to parries and things like that, because you're not generally going to get any hit with your gear as a Resto Druid because of another talent, which I'll talk about later. So that is one of the downsides. The other thing you can use is Ursul's Vortex. Now the benefit of this is you can use it in conjunction with your Typhoon to get a very powerful double interrupt on healers. Now, if a healer starts casting and you've got nothing to interrupt them with, you can actually Typhoon them, which interrupts the cast. Now, if you've got an Ursul's Vortex down before that and you Typhoon them out of the Ursul's Vortex, they'll start casting again and they'll get pulled back in. There's a double interrupt. It's very, very handy. And it can then put that little bit of pressure on to maybe land an extra kill. Disorientating Roar has its uses. Again, the fact that it hits all enemies is very, very powerful, and it's on a very short cooldown. But personally, I go with Mighty Bash. Now, the level 90 talents, again, there's a little bit of flexibility there. Nature's Vigil is huge. I like Nature's Vigil. The extra healing is really good. It's a relatively short cooldown. It's 1.5 minutes cooldown, but it's a 30-second duration, so you're going to have it up 1/3 of the time. I have it macroed into some other spells, so it's almost used on cooldown. You could utilise Heart of the Wild. Switching to cat form into Heart of the Wild, you can do a lot of damage. And Dream of Canarius could, in BGs, depending on what your role is within your BG, if you're going to assist with damage a little bit, and you're sometimes getting the extra bits of damage out there with your Wraths, the fact that it then boosts your healing thereafter could be used as an advantage. And again, the other way around, if you're doing a lot of healing and then you suddenly switch to damage, you can feel the benefit of that way. So there is potential there. Personally, Nature's Vigil. Have a play around, see what one you go with. Now the glyphs. The glyphs, there's basically 4 to pick from that you'll most likely use most of the time. Now, Glyph of Regrowth is massive. Now what this means is your regrowth will 100% chance to crit, because regrowth already has a 6% chance to crit. So with this glyph, you've got 100% chance to crit on your regrowth. Now, you'll notice you don't get the hot anymore, which is a bummer, but on the plus side, you get that. So you get a living seed planted. Because it's 100% chance to crit, firstly, you get the bonus of the actual crit, so it's always a crit heal, which is huge, but you also get that living seed. Now, what that does is the next time you take damage, you're instantly healed for a certain amount. It's normally about 25 to 30k, which is pretty big. So you think you're getting your regrowths out there, and then you're planting that seed passively. You don't even have to think about it, which absorbs another little bit of healing. So that's why that glyph is so fantastic. The next glyph is the Glyph of Bark Skin, and this is one that will keep you alive. Your Bark Skin is a 45-second cooldown. It's a 20% damage reduction. If you get this glyph, it also becomes a 25% less chance to be crit. Now, again, it's passive, so you don't have to think about it, which is always a benefit. So when you pop your Bark Skin, not only do you take 20% less damage, but you also have a 25% crit reduction. As you can see, my macro is Nature's Vigil into there as well. So I know when I'm popping Bark Skin, I'm in a little bit of trouble. So I've got my Nature's Vigil out there, and my healing suddenly is increased by 10%. I go with that glyph because I find that I get targeted a lot. People think Druids are squishy. They'll get in there and they'll try and gank you. So I think that's an obligatory glyph, in my opinion. Now the Glyph of Blooming is the other one. This is huge. Your Life Bloom you will have up, ideally, on 3 stacks pretty much all the time. On somebody. You know, if you're in combat, if you're in a BG, you're going to have it up all the time. Now, what this glyph does, it means, on the downside, to a certain respect, a certain viewpoint, Healing Touch, Nourish and Regrowth no longer renew its duration. Now, if you PvE, you'll know that it normally refreshes the duration back to its maximum upon doing a regrowth. Now, it doesn't anymore. Now, you think that's a bad thing, but it isn't really, and here's why. Basically, when this expires in PvP with this glyph, the cooldown is reduced to from 15 to 10 seconds, and you get this. Boom. 300,000. Now, that's huge. And the good thing about this is, once you've stacked it to 3, and you've got the 9 seconds ticking down there, you could potentially be CC'd at, say, 4 seconds. Suddenly you're in a cyclone, you've got no trinket, your partner might die. No, he won't, because that will tick on him, and it will tick for a huge number. Okay, I'm quite lucky that that demonstration showed you it crit twice. Now, it's not always going to crit. The normal hit is about 130,000, that's still huge. That's like 1/3 of your health. In a PvP environment, obviously with the damage, with the healing reductions and that kind of thing, it's probably about 100k, but it's still a huge heal. So that glyph, in my opinion, is fantastic. And as soon as that ticks off, as soon as that hits, you put it back on. You have that up as much as possible because it's a huge heal. And remember, when you pop your Tree of Life form, you can have that on multiple targets as well. So you can get that, you can blanket that across everybody. So that's a good thing there. But your regrowth won't renew it. As you can see, the instacaster regrowths aren't renewing it. But the reason is, you don't want it to. You want that to be ticking off to get that life bloom, to get that final blooming heal as much as possible. Now, the other glyph you could use is Glyph of Life Bloom. Now, what that does is effectively means your life bloom can be switched from target to target with its maximum number of stacks. Now, that could be used quite well in conjunction with Glyph of Blooming. You could always have this on yourself, for example. If one of your friends was suddenly taking a wad of damage or became the target, you could flick it to them. Only viable glyph you could lose out of that is Bark Skin. You could potentially lose regrowth, but in my opinion, it's too powerful. It's not worth it. So that's the first two things spoken about there. That's the talents and that's the glyphs. Now, what I'll talk about very, very briefly, and bear in mind, as I said, I'm not an expert on this. This is just my opinion, and this is just my view stance on this side of things, and it's the gear. Now, obviously, you want to be getting your gear. You want to be getting PvP resilience, and you want to be getting PvP power. Now, PvP power will be removed as of patch 5.3. It will basically be PvP resilience, I should say, will be removed as of patch 5.3. PvP power will stay. Everybody will be given a base 65% resilience. That's good news for healers, and it's also good news that the PvP power will be changed. It will be more powerful for healers again. At the moment, it's kind of double dip because it's not as powerful for healers as it is for DPS, but you still want to go with it. Now, there's two things you can do when you're a Resto Druid and when you're in PvP. You can get your gear set up to go full mastery. Now, your mastery is your single target heals give you that harmony, and it increases your periodic healing. So your HOTS become more powerful if you keep harmony up. In PvP, it's sometimes difficult to track your harmony debuff, but it's powerful. Now, mastery is powerful in PvP. The other thing you could do is you could gem or glyph for haste. Now, I'm trying this out at the moment, and I'll give you some feedback in another video and see how it works. But I'm gearing and reforging for haste. Now, what that means is I'm aiming for an extra tick of rejuvenation. Now, your rejuvenation will have an insta heal, and then it will do an additional heal over a certain amount of time. If I can get to 12.5%, which is 5,316 haste rating, then I will get an extra tick of rejuvenation. Now, looking at my healing in PvP, the vast majority of my healing is from the Bloom of Life Bloom and the rejuvenation, because they're insta heals. You can get them out there, you can't get interrupted, you get them out there as much as possible. I'm going to give it a try going with haste. Most druids and most high rating druids go with mastery. It's probably the way to go, but there is a viability of going with haste, and getting to 12.5% haste is your target. Now, the other thing for your gear is obviously you want to be getting as much PvP power, resilience, and intellect. When it becomes 65% base resilience, it's good news for healers. The PvP power will go up as well in conjunction with that. It's great news for healers. We're liking this. This could be good. We'll see how it pans out. So for the time being, you want to get all your PvP gear. You could probably get away with one PvE trinket, and that's because of the base resilience change that's incoming. Now, I've gone with the mana regen one because I'm reforging even Spirit into haste. This trinket alone means I don't actually get whatsoever. Very rarely do I You've got to have your freedom trinket. That's obligatory. And you've got to have a 2-set, firstly, which reduces the cooldown of your Swift Mend, and you've got to have your 4-set. The 4-set is absolutely mammoth. It makes Ironbark a 30-second cooldown. That's wicked. Obviously, these will change as the seasons change, but for the time being, we can't really look beyond that. And the gloves themselves give an increased ranging cyclone of 5 yards. Cyclone's big, it's a big spell. It enables you to get free from foes, it enables you to set up kills, it enables you to put pressure, those kind of things. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a second. For now, that's the first part of this video done. The second part of this video will follow in a moment, and it will include how to play a druid from my experience. So thanks for watching this first video. The second video will be up in a moment.